Welcome to MetroStar's Civvies podcast.
I had that moment of like, oh no.
I'm stepping off the golden path. I'm getting out.
Should I just go back in?
Today is a special episode with some of MetroStar's own veterans.
When it comes to the topic of certifications,
you never know what your next opportunity is going to come from.
The barber knew about MetroStar?
The barber knew about MetroStar.
Let's go.
I don't know. Maybe you guys can relate.
I think so.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Holman, an Army veteran who served in the Medical Service Corps. These days, I work as a technical recruiter in the cleared space here at MetroStar. We know how important these conversations are to the military community, and we're honored to provide a platform for sharing insights, making connections, and building resources for transitioning service members. This is Civvies, a podcast by MetroStar.
Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for coming on Civvies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to kick it off, Andy, if you could start us off, tell us your name, the branch of service that you served in, and what you do now at MetroStar.
Cool. I'm Andy Gill, Strategic Talent Acquisitions Lead here at MetroStar, do proposal recruiting. 24-year Air Force, retired, a little bit of active duty, a little bit of reserve. So,
thanks, Andy. Ryan.
Sure. Ryan Abbott, the Vice President of the Defense Business Unit here at MetroStar. I served in the Army from 02 to 07.
Joe Early, Senior Director of Solutions within our Innovation Lab. I give our products a reason why. And I've been here at MetroStar for about 3.5 years. And I served in the Navy as a Naval Flight Officer for 10 years. And then I've been a reservist ever since.
Darrell Akins, Army veteran. I was at Fort Campbell for a bit. Was in the Army for 6 years. Currently for MetroStar, I'm program admin. And as of right now, I'm helping the enterprise operation team driving the force with our integration with AI.
Welcome again, gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here. Are the folks out there that are getting ready to transition or that have just newly transitioned, they benefit so much from hearing these stories, especially those that are going into the tech space, right? So what better guests to have on than all of you? I'm jumping right in here with some warm-up questions to break the ice. And I'm going to start with you, Ryan. In one word, describe your transition out of the military.
Yeah. I was super excited. So multiple words. Excited would be the one word. I was very focused on the career path that I wanted to go into. I was a military police officer, and my plan had always been from the time I went in to the time coming out was to be a state trooper in the state of New Jersey. Yeah.
So excited. Yeah. I don't hear that one too often, right? I hear
I'm not a state trooper, so
yeah, I hear the opposite. Did anyone not feel excited?
I will say I was a bit nervous. Joining the military fresh out of high school, being an all-source analyst for the Army, and then February 24th of last year came up. And I was like, man, I got to do something else, So it was kind of nervous, I guess.
Nervous,
for me.
Yeah. I think that's definitely relatable. And there's such a wide range of emotions that folks feel out there. Andy, what's one piece of advice that you were given about transitioning that was completely wrong?
Well, a lot of people that had just recently transitioned. And so my transition, I like to say my transition was 12 years because I did 12 years of active duty from 2000 to 2012, separated from the active duty, but then went right into reserve duty. It's still a separation. Let me be very, very clear. That is a separation from 12 years of having a paycheck, on the 1st and 15th and, knowing where you report and, knowing who is in charge to, okay, I have to still earn a paycheck, provide for my family, but I'm a bit on my own. So a lot of people are given advice of like, oh, you've been in the Air Force for, over a decade. You're getting out now. Like, that's crazy. All you have to do is another 10 years. Right. But honestly, for me, that was just with the ops tempo of the early 2000s going into 2012, I was like, I couldn't do another 10 years. Like for me and my family, I knew it was right for my family to step out. And so a lot of people thought it was crazy that I was getting out. I didn't really have a complete plan, but I knew I needed to do it. And so I had a lot of people saying like, oh, you're making, like they literally told me I was making the wrong decision. So I guess my advice on that is, don't listen to everybody, but listen to people that have done it. But you have to chart your own path. Like you're going to have your bumps in the road. You're going to have your challenges. You're going to have your unknowns. But in your heart, if you know the time is right to punch the ticket. There's a whole world of opportunity out there.
Do some of you sitting here listening to that, Andy, talk about the noise, right? He's coming up on this big decision. He had over 10 years of service, and folks are like, what are you doing? This isn't the right choice. Do some of you relate to that?
I mean, for me, that's the path in your career where you either are offered a bonus for retention or you are making a decision to bet on yourself. And that both of those come with real opportunity. And so picking your family first, but at the same time, betting on yourself to succeed in the real world, that's where both sides of the audience that you're hearing from really start to impact you during your transition. And that's where you've got to know yourself and know what your priorities are. And that's one of the first times since maybe graduating high school when you're out on your own, that's like, I got to do this and I've got to be all in.
Right.
And everybody's going to have their opinions. That's our society these days. We hear everyone's opinions.
Right.
And I think that's what you're saying, like know yourself so that all those opinions coming at you, you can bounce them off of what's true and what's your foundation. That's you and your story. So
I will tell you that I definitely had, and I don't know, maybe you guys can relate, but I had that moment of like, oh no, this isn't going like I planned on. I bet on myself. I had a path. It deteriorated quickly. Should I just go back in? Like maybe I just need to go talk to. I knew that world. I felt successful in that world. Did you ever have that moment?
So
after?
Yeah. So
right.
Funny that you bring that up because I separated in 2012, and my journey, I started my own business. So talk about betting on yourself. Like, and I didn't know about all the veteran-owned business opportunities. Like I went completely blind. I was just like, there's, bam, I'm out, and about 8 months into it, I literally couldn't pay my mortgage. And a lot of people would say like, oh, you made the wrong choice. I still don't think it was the wrong choice. That's the journey I had to go through. And I was trying to make it, and I was making headway with my business. But I actually called my reserve unit and was like, hey, like, you got anything? Because I need some orders. And that's the beauty of like getting out and choosing to stay in the reserve or guard is like, you have that option to say, hey, you got some Title 10 orders I can get on, it doesn't even have to be Title 10, just give me a paycheck, and I was able to do 6 months, but yes, like I had that fear of like, did I make a wrong choice? Yeah. And I had to go through all those emotions and then come on the backside of it and be like, I learned so much during that first year of how to survive and how to, shift quickly. That, yeah, absolutely.
Ryan, I wanted to follow up. So you were saying like you had this moment of oh no, right? And what I'm feeling is like, okay, impeding doom. And so how did you slow your thought processes down to not spiral? I think it's a very human experience, especially when like big emotions are involved and you have real responsibilities, Andy, with your mortgage and kids. How do you just have that self-awareness to pause?
Yeah, I think for me in that moment, and I've thought about this a lot, there was a sense of calm. I got bad news. Bad news to me at the moment was, hey, you're not going to be accepted into this, academy class that you bet everything on, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't go to college at that moment. I didn't feel like it was a path for me. And so I went to the military to substitute that piece. I wound up going back and get my degree anyway, which was a blessing. But in that moment, I had such an an amazing support system. I married my high school sweetheart. We were in a house that my father-in-law, built for us. And so like I already had the ball rolling in so many ways on why this was going to be good.
Okay.
I just had this one moment of, okay, now what? Like, what's the pivot? Because you bet on yourself on this one. And so, yeah, I think it was just that. It was taking that moment, taking a deep breath. I mean, don't get me wrong. My wife was like, what are you going to do? Like, what are we doing now? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. And we certainly did.
But it sounds like you took a minute to just think about the things that were going well for you.
Yes.
You had your housing covered, a supportive spouse, and sometimes it's good to just look at the good, right?
100%.
And not just totally focus in on
Absolutely.
the bad. Anyone can take this question. What's one thing about civilian life that absolutely drove you crazy at first?
I think for me, it was a bit of a shell shock not waking up for PT, right? Like, or you build this routine over the years being in the military. You build this, this knack for something, this expectation of showing up at this time, this place, this uniform, and you wake up on a Monday and you're like, what am I doing? I'm not at formation. Something's wrong. But reality sets in like, oh, I'm, phasing into that new chapter in my life. And I think that's the biggest piece, that shell shock of like, I need to be doing something early in the morning,
And not having a schedule.
Yeah.
You're making your own schedule.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. What I think of is Mel Robbins is a pretty well-known author, and she talks about the 5-second rule of when you get up in the morning. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get up. Don't think about it. Don't pause. Just get up. And for my own self, I had to kind of retrain my thought process with just move. Like, don't think about just laying here and scrolling and doing something else. Andy, what's one skill the military gave you that civilians totally underestimate?
And there's a couple words people use, like resiliency is a big military buzzword, but like just like the flexibility with like, if I need to do something and it's outside of my comfort zone, like it's a take a hill the moment, a take the hill moment. I'm gonna do it. I may not have all the charted paths of how to do it appropriately. I've never done it before, but like if you need me to do it, I'm gonna figure it out. So that flexibility to think quickly, and be flexible in the moment, and that like doesn't matter what you do. You could be, sitting doing IT help desk and be asked to do a tier ticket that you've never done before. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, who knows who's the best person in the room? Let me tap on their shoulder. Or doing something different. It doesn't matter. Like the flexibility and resiliency to think quickly on my feet is something that I've always hinged on. And I do, like, I was your typical teenager. Like I had a sister that was a year older than me, and every morning going to school, like she'd get up an hour and a half early. She'd be doing her hair. She'd be banging on my door. Andy, we gotta go. And I'm like, I'll be there in a second. Yeah. And I roll out of bed. I had hair down to my shoulder blades. Yes. There's pictures somewhere.
Okay, we all caught that, right? Because
I roll out of my bed, like,
we need a photo.
Put my fingers through my hair, throw my backpack on, and walk out the door. Like, so like it was a learned trait to have that rigidity of sticking to the military, cadence of formation and going through the motions. But it's all of that built me into this person that, like, I can be laid back, but in a moment, I can be what you need me to be because I learned that in the military.
So I want to transition to more of a tech focus here with the conversation. I know a lot of our audience, they might be service members who are looking to get into tech. A lot of them do have security clearances. And Ryan, I want to start with you, especially with your background in security forces. What led you to pursue a career in tech after service?
Yeah, it was so much like Andy just described, right? I quickly realized that, all right, what do I have going for me? I have a clearance. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm away from this DC ecosystem that I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Sure.
And I'm at a wedding, and I met a friend from high school who's like, hey, oh, you're out. Oh, do you have a clearance? Right. Recruiting me right out of the gate. I have no idea. Right. Much like, you do so well. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, you got a clearance. Oh, so why don't we talk? And it just wound up being like, hey, come down to DC and see if there's an analyst type of role that you could take the billet on, even though I didn't have the background, just having that MP piece. And it's just kind of built from there. It was being that sponge of like, who does this? Who does this? Now I'm here and I figure out who does it extremely well. And then how do I get more time with that person? And then continue to pivot and collect those skills until, until you kind of feel like you have it, which I still don't feel like I have it by any stretch, right? You're still trying to find those mentors, but yeah, I mean, that was kind of how the ball got rolling for me.
And I have to ask this question. I know our audience out there is probably thinking it. Did you feel like a fish out of water in those early months?
I mean, 100%. Like I mean, like I said, my father-in-law built us a home. Like historically, we were going to be in New Jersey for the rest of our lives, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it depends, right? I think you would say it was bad. Yeah. But I had so many things going for us, but then it was like, but my career would be down here. And so, there was a lot of like having to have some belief in the process, and people were going home to their families, and I was in the office super late, just trying to be that sponge and sleeping. I slept in my car a couple times just because I couldn't afford a hotel, right? Because you're just not making enough money. And so like, I think that was kind of the pivot moment where, again, Andy described it so well, where it's like military personnel coming out, they might not have the perfect background, but they're resilient. And you used a couple of other really good buzzwords around that really give them the opportunity to be really good at something that they want to focus on, right? But they may not know that right out of the gate. So you just got to spend that time. But what you're going to get is take that hill. That's what you're going to get out of this person. So, yeah.
And it sounds like you were pretty quick to identify the folks around you that were doing a similar job well and learned as much as you could from them.
Yeah, I think there was I had a couple of military folks that came before me that were veterans, Army veterans, and they kind of took me under their wing and were like, okay, we'll spend the time with you. I had to do the work. They would not spend the time with me if I didn't do the extras.
Right.
But they 100% took me under their wing. Yeah. That's
something I hear a lot when we do these episodes with guests, is that no one will work harder for you than you. You have to invest in yourself. Joe, I'm coming for you because you were a pilot. So how in the world did you get into tech?
So as a naval flight officer, you're constantly working with software. You're constantly in that environment where you are looking at what is a screen in front of you and assessing the OODA loop. Right? You're looking at the situation. And then I got the opportunity to know ahead of time that, hey, I'm stepping off the golden path. I'm getting out. So my next orders, right before I get out, I am going to take orders that help me transfer those skill sets to the real world. And so I was able to get accepted into a flight test billet.
Okay.
And so with flight test, you work a lot closer to the system engineering process. You work a lot closer with the software development process as a user. You work a lot closer with technical acumen from folks that you had never been exposed to in the operational space. And so having initial foresight to know that I was about to bet on myself, but also insight to say, hey, what do I need to go do that I'm not good at right now?
Right.
That will help me transition and transfer. And let me tell you, that only kind of helped the transition into the real world, because you don't know what roles are going to be open. You don't know where industry is going to be. Tech moves very fast. And so like Ryan, I had to go into an analyst role from where I was. It was still a small pivot, but it was be where your feet are, figure out what your strengths are once you get there, and then use whatever tools you had, including the people that came before you or transitioned with you, in order to find your best self. And so coming from aviation, and I see this a lot, it's like, oh, do buddies go pilot? Like, no, not all pilots go pilot, right? They've got to find a way out. It is, do you know yourself? Do you know the domain in which you want to find expertise in? And then network. There's a lot of people that came before us that you went to college, high school, people that were in your graduating class from flight school. Not everybody stayed in. There's a lot of people that transition, but there's also a lot of people that just root for you out there in the world. MetroStar, we root for people, which is why we try to hire veterans. Sure. There's a lot of people just rooting for you, saying, hey, go take this. What about this role over here? That's how I got my start, is somebody took a interview and they weren't a good fit for the role. It was a senior systems engineer. And he was like, you know what, Joe, give me your resume. And he put my resume in for his. And then he was like, I mean, they called and they were like, well, do you want to interview? And I was like, yes, I think so, because it was a fit. He already knew it was a fit. He already knew the role, what they were asking. I was still trying to figure things out in language. And he was like, Joe, you're a perfect fit here. Just give me your resume. I'll represent you. And he didn't do the interview for me. I ended up doing the interview because I wanted to challenge myself. But that was my next role. I got hired immediately. And then that's how I got my start.
You know what I like about your story that I never knew is like the piece where you said, I was a pilot, I stepped off the golden path, and I found somewhere within the military, like that last assignment that set me up for success. I don't think I hear a lot of that, like forward thinking. And in my situation, it was a lot like quicker of a decision. But for people that are wanting to transition into tech and maybe aren't in tech jobs, we just recorded, I don't know when the other episode will air, an episode all about software factories. So DoD software factories. And Austin Hurling, he's one of our tech fellows here at MetroStar. Like that's similarly to what he did, stepping in to, he was in a pseudo tech role, and then he saw this opportunity with software factories. So like a lot of veterans, even active military, don't realize, like, I don't want to use the words you can manipulate like the system to get into a position or a set of orders that, would benefit you, but you can. Yeah. You absolutely can. Like I'm from the days of, picking up the phone and calling the functional, and saying, hey, I want orders. I got out of orders that way once. That was really fun. But like, do the work and understanding, like, if I want to get into tech, like, where do I need to be? Software factories is an excellent path to do that. Can you get into a software factory? There's an application process within uniform military service for you to do. Maybe that's not it, but like maybe you just need a set of orders. They're going to put you in a command that's going to give you the opportunity to do the tasks that you can now put on your resume. So that's excellent advice.
Nobody trains you better than the military. So even when you go into that role where you may not be prepared or understand what you're going to do, the military will pay for that schooling. They will pay for you to upskill yourself so that you can execute that mission with crisp expertise in order to defend our nation. So that is one difference in the real world, is you kind of got to find your own time. Find your own time to get that upskilling. In the military, how much time do you need? Yeah. So that's one of those opportunities to look ahead and plan for that and know that the military will prepare you.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I have to say this. Thanks for not going to Delta or Southwest, Joe.
You don't want me flying planes. As a naval flight officer, you know that.
If you had gone left, you wouldn't be here. I know. You'd probably be great. It would be a safe
can I say,
ride.
so naval flight officer is a goose, right? We're in the back. Okay.
Okay.
So we get trained. We start flight school in the front, and we learn how to not throw up, and we learn to do the loops, and we learn to do all the fun stuff. But then eventually they kick you to the back and you learn the weapon system. So in the Air Force, it's a weapon system officer. Okay. And so we blow stuff up, we talk to people, and we
I love how you say
we
that
generally enjoy the pilots. Pilots are bus drivers, right? That's a good way to conceptually think about
it. Darrell, what certifications made the biggest difference for you?
For me, kind of jumping into Security Plus. Again, within my transition, right? Like I was an all source analyst, had no idea what I was going to do on the outside. So I'm like, hey, I need to upskill to better my resume, right? So I want to say Security Plus for sure. That was an extreme main focus as far as that, small gap between not doing any training and then doing a bunch of training within the Army, staying proficient with all the requirements for an all-source analyst. So it's like, yeah, I think Security Plus initially was a great basis for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As a tech recruiter, that is one of my top 5 certifications that I recommend.
Can I say something about certifications?
Absolutely.
So, not that it's like a bad thing to think about. Like, I don't want to send that message. Like, baseline certifications are pretty important when you're going for a job that's attached to an LCAT. But when it comes to the topic of certifications, like if you're a transitioning, military member and you start that, that really, really scary process of interviewing, sometimes for the first time in decades, go into it like, yeah, this is what the skills that I have, but then also ask the recruiter on that initial call, like, what opportunities am I going to get to upskill, certifications, training, exposure? Like, part of the interview process that a lot of newer interviewees don't understand is that, yeah, we're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing us. Like, don't sell yourself short and understand okay, if I'm interviewing for MetroStar, I have these skill sets, these certifications, turn it back on them. Like, what opportunities does MetroStar provide? It's not like what you're going to give me, but like, what opportunities do you have, and we have opportunities at MetroStar that we give back, annual funds for upskilling and certifications and stuff like that, but a good company that you would want to put your put a shirt on and say, I'm a MetroStar employee, is going to provide those opportunities to get past like just the baseline certifications, so just simple plug for if you're interviewing soon. So
Andy, I got to take this a step further. Obviously, you're in a unique position because you're also a technical recruiter, right? You have these conversations very frequently with candidates that are interested in the role. Do you think, from the position you sit in, that most people are hesitant to ask those questions?
If we're talking about transitioning military members, yes. I think at least for me, and I know this is true for a lot of people, when you're coming out of the military, whether it be 6 years or 20, you're not used to talking about what you do. You're used to talking about what we have done, what we have accomplished, as a group. That's the military mindset, in an interview, the interviewer wants to know what you did, and so like, hesitation, yes, there's an immense amount of hesitation to talk about yourself in general. So then also to take it a step further and say, hey, Mr. VP of Defense, what opportunities is this going to give me? How is me taking the role that you're talking to me about going to benefit my career? Like, that's a scary thing to say. And also coming out of the military and talking to a VP of Defense, and it doesn't have to be the VP of Defense. It can be anybody, but that's what Ryan wants to hear. I guarantee you that's what Ryan wants to hear, because it shows that you're hungry to better yourself. You're not just coming in with a skill set that you're bringing him. You're saying, Ryan, what can I do? What does this opportunity provide me that I can then better my skill set and provide more value to you and your business unit? So it's scary. Do it anyway. Like, ask those questions.
Ask the questions.
Yeah.
Right. Question for the group. So what helped you the most when navigating job titles or unfamiliar corporate structures? I know, Darrell, you talked about going into an analyst role. How did you know what type of analyst role to even look for?
Well, for me, current title is just program administrator, but I kind of just honestly just utilize everything that I had from the Army as far as for being a all-source analyst. I saw the opportunity potentially to be a business analyst, but that was after I onboarded and I was, set forth to be a program administrator. Always ask, what I will say is always ask, try to see if you can fine tune or find something aligned with what you currently do in the military. Because you never know, down the road, yes, you might be on one contract, see if there's an opportunity to branch over into something that was more aligning that you saw initially, but you wanted to get your foot in the door because it's scary. You're like, I need something now. Okay, take your time, breathe. Down the road, see, okay, now, hey, I've been in the company for this long. Let's see if I can actually go back to the basics, go back for what I know, and go into that, aligned role, whether it be a business analyst or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you took the time to really just kind of research different titles that would fit. Did anyone else have that experience with maybe not knowing what you were looking for title-wise?
Google is so helpful. And I know ChatGPT and things now is you can now, I didn't have that when I was transitioning. I had, you had friends or folks that went before you that maybe had flashcards or things like that. They're like, how do I talk about myself kind of things. So they've got, Google has tools out there where they just send you back a laundry list, a thesaurus of different things you can call yourself. But ultimately, like Darrell said, you kind of got to get feedback in the moment. You got to listen to the feedback that you get from interviews, and folks will start to give you keywords for how they see you.
There you go.
That if you're not listening, you're going to miss. Yeah. But in those moments, they'll start saying things about you that are like, oh, that sounds real. That's a real word. That's not military. They're helping to translate me for me. Mm-hmm. And so now you got to go back and you got to put that in your keywords on your resume, just to make sure that your resume hits. And then, you got to change your vernacular about how you talk about yourself. So it's all three, like the Googles, the internet, the interviews and the feedback, and then in execution. How do I actually take what they said about me and then apply it towards myself properly?
It's reassuring to hear, especially with you, Joe, and Ryan, you have some pretty significant titles attached to your name that can just quite honestly be a bit intimidating. And to hear you say like, okay, I took this feedback, very similar to someone else's process. It just, for me, it's like, oh, you're normal. You go through this process as well. So Ryan, I have to ask you, did you ever practice like your 30-second just pitch when you were introducing yourself?
Yes. And I feel like I got it wrong or it didn't land, or I should have said this and not that because it didn't work out. I think the big, scary, challenging moment, and to the last question too, is like, don't pigeonhole yourself. Like last thing you want to do is have this amazing career in the military, whether it's for the first term or your lifer. Get out and then go, all right, I'm going to do something for the next 20 years that I'm going to hate. Right. But my skills translate. And so it's like, figure out what you want to do. And I know every like self-help book will tell you this, but like figure out what you enjoy, what you want to do. And then how does that translate in? I'll never forget, to the pitch comment. I was interviewing for a sales job, and a buddy of mine, I was asking him for, again, leaning on somebody. And I was like, he's out of the city, in New York. And I was like, what should I be bringing to this? Like, how do I present myself? And he's like, look, man, it's great. And like, I appreciate you as a friend and what you've been able to accomplish, but nothing about you says you're a sales guy. Right. Ooh. And thank you for what you did in service, but that doesn't translate necessarily.
It's tough to hear.
And yeah, that's a tough moment. That's a gut check moment. Right. And so figuring out like, there were moments and times where you had to figure out a way out of a situation or have a conversation with somebody that didn't understand a word you were saying. And there's a little bit of salesmanship and conversation that goes along with that. So I practiced and practiced and practiced. Long-winded way to say, and I still practice. Mm-hmm. I still look at myself in the mirror and try to figure out, what I'm going to say to somebody.
Talking about not selling yourself short.
Yeah.
And like, it's a journey. Like this whole topic of conversation of like, finding your right title and like where you first start and being flexible from there. So I'm going to name drop some MetroStar lore. Okay. Mr. Andrew Bice. I have an immense amount of respect for that man, because here's a Navy special operations guy, gets out of the military, knows that it's right for his family. And that man has flexed into so many different hats.
Flexed being the important term here, right?
Yeah.
Flexed,
Biceps, you know. Flex.
He's gonna love this when it airs. He's gonna play this back, you know.
Bicep is probably more accurate, but he's flexed so many times, and he's never afraid to do it. That's what I respect about him. And I know he's watching, so hey, Andrew. But he's done so much. Like, he's done growth, he's done capture, he did recruiting for a while. He left MetroStar on great terms because he had a great opportunity. So he's not afraid to like do that thing that Darrell was talking about, be like to figure out like what's next and not be like pigeonholing yourself, you know.
And I have to add, he's always welcome back.
Yes.
So Andrew, yeah, gotta see.
You see your LinkedIn videos.
We gotta see it for you here. Let's transition to just the human side of transition. I love what you shared, Ryan. It's definitely relatable. Again, back to what I said, especially with the title that some of you carry. I think most folks wonder, like, does this person go through the same, process, or is this easy for you? I want to name drop here too. Cedric George, phenomenal human being that works here. Prior general in the Air Force, and he had given me a book to read, and as I was reading through it, I saw that he had highlighted different sections and then made notes to himself, and I was like, the general, like, he makes his own notes too, just like me. So we all kind of, put our pants on the same way. Was there, and this is for anyone, was there a moment in your transition that to this day you still think about? It could be good, it could be bad, but just something that stuck with you through your transition.
I think for me was not only, right, putting my resume out there, but you never know what your next opportunity is going to come from, right? Like I didn't want to stay cooped up in the house. So I would go out here and there and just having simple conversations with folks. I want to say there was one time, right? Cause I was just adding tools to the tool belt, right? Knowing nothing but the Army for 6 years. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. So let's go into a barber shop, right? Start to talk to the barber. Lo and behold, he knows someone that works in DC. And then from there, it's just like conversation. There's this company, MetroStar, give me your resume. And it's just like, you never know, right?
The barber knew about MetroStar?
The barber knew about MetroStar.
Let's go.
So it's like you never know. So like, I would say like through that transition, it's just the good part is the good and hard part is you have to find a way to get out and still try to communicate. Not only just, locked in the computer, shooting your resumes, but at the same time, it can be depressing just staying in and shooting resumes like, oh, they're going to respond back. No, go out, mm-hmm. Communicate. You never know. Yeah.
I got to add to that. Such a good point. Like my transition story completely, if you said, hey, this is what you have to do, get your resume out to people, go, I went to, all the tech job events, that were hiring embedded software engineers, which I definitely was not, right? And being like, oh, well, that didn't work, right? That didn't, you understand that. And it just came in the most unlikely place. And so it's like, you just have no idea. So the point is, continue to just, drive it. Cause the friends that I thought that may have been able to help, not so much, but the unlikely place was the place that it actually wound up working out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how I got here.
Yeah. True.
Let's go.
True. It's true.
I love, Darrell, that you touched on just kind of practicing conversationally, but asking people about what they do or who they know. I got similar advice in my early 20s, because believe it or not, I didn't really like to talk to people back then. And it was just practice having conversations in everyday life. So in the grocery store, hey, how's your day going? And then the poor cashier is like, just get your apples and go. Just go. Like, stop asking me. And now I can't turn that off as a recruiter. Okay, moving on. When did you finally feel like, okay, I'm home now? And this is for anybody. After you transition out of the military, you get into whichever civilian job it is. Did you have a moment where you're like, this is it? This is it. I found it.
MetroStar is the closest thing I've had to feeling like I did when I was in the service, being at home, mm-hmm. right? Having a larger picture of the goal that we're trying to achieve, which is providing support to the warfighter. And it's a reminder every day in defense. That's what we're doing here, right? It's not about winning contracts and all that stuff, has to happen, but how are we helping the warfighter? And having that kind of focus is the closest thing that's been since, having that camaraderie and saying, so what we're doing today while we're on route recon, in Babylon,
So it sounds like the mission deeply resonates with you.
Well said. Said better than I did.
Joe, what keeps you here at MetroStar?
I think that, like Ryan, so I've been out since 2017, but I went back in on active duty and then I quit right after COVID in 2021 again. And I think there's a timeline there. The thing that keeps me at MetroStar is you've got to go through the ups and downs and the struggles of the transition, and you almost have to go back through your formative years. And so for MetroStar to be here, that is a stable, focused, and also community-driven ecosystem that allows you to, whatever your Pavlov dog, whatever your theory is there, whatever your needs are that are met, like MetroStar really helps support you during those times that you're reinventing yourself and re-understanding yourself as, a family man, as, a business person, as a, just me. MetroStar's really got a holistic view of how to do that for stability to go forward. So you're mentally in a good spot to keep going every day.
Andy, I got to come to you on this one. For those that don't know, I actually was
I'm really scared right now.
part of the process of recruiting Andy. And we had many, many conversations about MetroStar. And I'm sure you were like, okay, stop. I know you love it. Just stop. What keeps you here, Andy?
The mission, for sure. My answer to the question you asked Ryan earlier was the same. Like I it's not just the mission though. I'll get to my second part, but my first time I felt like I was at home was not MetroStar, but it was at AWS. I'd done recruiting. I'd supported cleared recruiting from like a partnership standpoint from a recruiting partner, directly hiring to other companies. But when I went to AWS and I worked in their cleared space and I was directly supporting their efforts, like I felt like I was attached to a mission, and it really felt that like connection point again. And then coming to MetroStar, it's been amazing to still have that mission, but be closer to it, I think. Nothing against AWS and larger entities, but, being at MetroStar, we're rapidly growing, but you feel like I can pick up the phone and call the CEO, and he's going to laugh. And like, if I see him in the hallway and if I'm a hugger, he's going to hug me, but it's just that feeling of the family, and my family at home is my family. Let me be very, very clear. Like this is my job, but if I'm going to come to my job, I want it to feel like I'm a part of something. I want to feel like I'm a part of a mission personally, but at the core, I want to feel like I'm part of a family. And so that's what keeps me here. Like our senior leadership, they honestly get out of the way of people that are here to get stuff done, and part of that is bettering yourself. So if you want to better yourself and like do something new, like all the way up to the senior leadership, they're going to allow you to do that. Within reason, so it's the mission, but it honestly is, it's our family. And I credit that to our senior leadership because everything trickles down.
Absolutely. I want to transition to, why you showed up today. I'd love to hear from all of you, starting with you, Darrell, like, why was this important to you to be here, to share a little bit about your journey with our audience. It's not easy, right? Our AV team makes it look very easy with the editing and this and that. But
Shout out to Derek.
Shout out to Derek sitting back there. It can be a little, anxiety inducing to be in front of a camera and be recorded. So why'd you decide to come today?
I think similar to all these guys, everybody's case is different. Everyone's at a different point in their life, and it's important to share our stories. For me, it's like, young, straight out of the military. My transition has been extremely smooth, but the how, I think, is more important. Kind of just like still want to piggyback on your last note. The aspect of a team, that was the first thing I was looking for. And I found that with the MetroStar. Like, I want to give a shout out to Jorge, all the great books he's telling me to read. That honestly reminds me of all my mentors that I had in the military. So it's like in the process of, my first year coming up, it's just been a continuous of, hey, take this hill, work with this team. How can you better this team? And just completely just being used as a tool. And MetroStar is kind of driving that. They're like, hey, listen, we want to use you. We want to use all the tools that you use in the Army. And I think that's important to share for new hires or our veterans, whatever the case may be. But I think it's extremely important to share.
Thank you. Joe, why'd you show up today?
The veteran transition, although unique to everyone, is still very similar from those that have gone before you, which is we've all had to take the step and take the uniform off. Yeah. And the ultimate sacrifice that those before us and after us will have made is not going to be in vain if we can support the mission from this side of the world, from the civilian side, who can understand what that mission is, who can understand what that sacrifice is, and how can we make sure that the best and brightest remain on the good side of the world. And we're still in the fight. It's just on a different side of it. So that's why, because you can affect, like you're still in the mission. You can affect it from the side.
Sorry, I should have put Joe last. How do you follow that? Where do we go? Thankfully, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I wish I was in that scene. I wish I was there. Why did I show up? I think what you do, Stephanie, is incredible. And getting the word out and even facilitating this opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. As a veteran, I remember just, Jill mentioned it before, but you're Googling, you might ask Jeeves back in my day. I don't know. Right. I'm dating myself. But yeah, exactly. I did. But you're looking for anything to get the advantage to help support your journey, in whatever that is. And I think that, podcasts are so easily consumable anymore. And this is the media and the way to get the word out. And my hope is that, I could be a part of this discussion, which I'm super thankful to be asked to be a part of, but also that journey doesn't stop and people do see this and throw a comment in or send an email or a message on LinkedIn to say, hey, I'm going through this part. And so the conversation just doesn't stop in this seat because, again, there's a community to help support you.
And you've been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Andy?
For me, I'm here this morning because the veteran community and the transitioning veteran community in particular needs to know that there's really cool places to work. Like, we're sitting in a studio owned by MetroStar. There's a lot of good GovCon companies out there. But we get to do this. Like, I lead a technical recruiting team. Stephanie's a recruiter. We've got a VP here. We've got a couple people from our innovation lab. Got all these priorities and things to do and to-do lists and mission critical stuff. And this morning, we're sitting here having a podcast talking to potentially thousands of veterans. That's cool. Like I want to be a part of that. I would want to be a part of that. An organization that finds time and value in investing into that. So, that's my thing. Whether it's MetroStar or some other company, go somewhere that's attached to the mission if that's your motivation. Go somewhere that you feel like you're a part of the family, and go somewhere that's fun. Like, have fun.
Right.
Like, you can do that in your job. You can have fun.
There's two things that just kind of hit me in the heart with what you said. The first, there are great companies out there, right? It's no secret we all love MetroStar, but there's other MetroStars out there, right? So find your fit. And then the other thing, Andy, that struck me is you said something like, you don't have to do this. I get to do this. And that's a mind shift every day, right? Same for myself. When I log into work, I'm like, I get to do, it's not I have to do this, which is really, really exciting. I want to switch to who you are, right? And talk about some like guilty pleasures. Andy, I'm going to start back with you.
Gosh.
What shows do you like? What food are you into? Do you have any hobbies? Who are you, Andy Gill?
Okay. So I don't like watching movies. I love when I can binge watch a show, and I love sci-fi, but the industry.
Talking Black Mirror?
Yeah, Black Mirror,
Okay.
like Foundation. There's a lot of good stuff on Apple and Amazon. Wheel of Time right now is a big one. But my beef with the entertainment industry right now is the moment you have a good sci-fi show, they cancel it. Like, because it's not like consumable in small bites. I think like one episode, okay, I can miss the next episode. Like, you have to fully invest into these shows. I don't know why. Like, that's my theory of why they don't ever make it. But like, that's my guilty pleasure. Is like me and my wife, like to unwind. We'll sit and we'll just binge watch a sci-fi show. So yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. There's probably a lot, in there, but
right.
yeah.
Oh man, it's like, how deep do I go here, right? Like, how?
There's no pressure.
No, I mean, they're a little bit, right?
Don't mess
A
it
little
up.
bit, yeah.
Where's that line?
I mean, how embarrassing do I want to be, right? Like, do I know every word to Saved by the Bell? Yeah, I do. Not that I do it today, but
Gosh, you're taking us back. Jeez.
I know. I'm sorry. It's the world I grew up in.
Sorry,
We're a big sports family. My daughter Reagan is heavy into shout out. She gave me some pointers this morning. But we're on a field or a basketball court. My wife coaches some of the basketball teams, so I'm heavy into sports in general. Relaxing. We live in Annapolis, so we're water people. We like boats and being out and enjoying what all that has to offer. And then if Pitch Perfect is on TV, we'll watch it. And we will sing to it in my household. Now my wife will leave the room and my daughter will laugh at me the whole time, but yeah, either way, like, we're going to watch Pitch Perfect. So
Is it all like musicals or just?
there's something about acapella that gets me, man. I don't know. I'm not a singer. We like pentatonics, right? Like, I don't know.
Joe, anything you'd like to share?
I've got two little ones at home, so I'm in deep therapy every day trying to figure out who I am so that I can be the best dad for them. My hobby is making sure that they survive. I wake up every single day. We're big Moana, Encanto, huge every single day. Every
Disney Plus.
single day.
Live action's coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah. So just enjoying the family, being a family person, doing family things. Cherry blossoms were out a couple weeks ago. So getting to hang out and just focusing on that. So that's where my time goes.
I'm making a mental note to myself for a MetroStar karaoke night. We'll put on Moana Yeah.
And I will bring her, and I will make sure that she sings because I will not be singing.
Okay. You got the Maui lines.
Hey, listen.
You could do the Maui lines.
I could
Yeah, you got it.
change them a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
But you know.
I guess for me, it's kind of trying to be involved in my environment. You know, moving up here to, I'm over in Alexandria now, so there's always something going on. Someone's biking, or there's always some kind of event going on. But when I'm at home, right now I'm watching This Is Us. Big tearjerker. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, just trying to stay as active as possible. Just this past Sunday, I saw a group playing Frisbee, pulled over, started playing with them. And then earlier this week with Cedric, we went on a bike ride, kind of training for the Armed Forces Cycling Classic. So yeah, just trying to stay active.
I thought you were going to say training for a triathlon because
I think he's doing that too.
Yeah, Cedric is.
He's the general. Come on.
Yeah, he's the general. Yeah. I wanted to.
Stephanie, you're not going to get away from that though.
I'm
you have to answer too, right? No transition,
Do you
Derek.
have my
Can we
cards,
reward
Ryan?
that? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask that because for myself, what holds me here at MetroStar, obviously the mission is super cool, but the people, you know, when I think about our cultural values, it is not just something on paper or a poster that you walk past, right? Trust, humility, no surprises. I think the folks here, I know the people that work here uphold that and live it. You can see it every day. And yes, I get super jazzed up about it. I can't talk about something that I don't genuinely love. So when you were talking about like the salesman comment, right? Sales isn't in you. It's not in me either. If you want me to sell a different product, I can't do it. I have to genuinely love it. And when I was looking myself, I went to MetroStar's website and got really just jazzed up about it because it gave a visual to the mission and more importantly, the people that work here, right? Like you can kind of feel it. And just getting to know everyone that works here on an individual level, like, so who are you, Ryan? You know, outside of this, who are you? And Joe surviving as a parent of two, which is, I feel you, man. I'm right there with you. All right, we got to bring this all together. I know we're tight on time. Finish this sentence for me. Andy, I'm looking at you. No pressure. No pressure. The military taught me blank, but civilian life taught me.
I'm going to shoot from the hip here. Military life taught me structure. I had a great upbringing, but like I said earlier, you know, like I was that typical teenager and I joined when I was 17. So the military life taught me structure. The civilian life has taught me to relax. I have an abandoned structure. Like I need structure. I'm very ADD. Stephanie knows this to be very true. I need that structure. So I hold tight to that structure. But, you know, Darrell was talking about it, like waking up and not having to be somewhere at a certain time. And like, you still have that, but not as structured, you know, like relax, have fun, breathe, like you're in the moment. This is your new norm. But always falling back on that foundation of structure that I learned from the military.
Joe, I'm going to put you in the hot seat next. Looking around at this group, what's one word that you would describe this group as?
Good looking.
Hey, we'll take it. Sold.
It's a vibe. We've all got a vibe. And folks want to be around other folks with a solid vibe.
I have nothing to follow up. I mean,
Simply put.
It is simply put. Ryan, what would you say today to a veteran who's transitioning tomorrow? Any words of encouragement?
Yeah, I would say show up. Every day, you're not going to want to do all of the things. Just keep taking that step forward and showing up, and you'll have a breakthrough moment, but you have to show up every day.
Absolutely. Last and most important question for all of you. What do you hope that someone watching today gets from this?
Insight, yeah, hope for sure. I think for insight, I know there's not a lot of how-tos when it comes down to, you know, transitioning in and out of the military. But I know over time there's been, you know, we have for the Army we had our Soldier Support Center, and you do that transition period, but still it's, you know, this is from the military side of the house. What's on the outside giving us that open door, that first step in, or that carpet, if you will, of how to, right? So just providing that, you know, that other perspective is huge for sure.
Andy, you said hope.
Yeah, just ironically very similar answer, but hope. Like, you're sitting here talking to 5 veterans, all with drastically different stories and paths. So regardless of like where you're sitting and what you think your path is or what you're trying to make your path is to be, like, there's definitely hope. It can feel a little hopeless sometimes. And somebody might be sitting there like in that moment, like, you know, just got that call, you're not accepted to the academy or whatever your situation is, but like, there's hope. Just show up, you know, and do the grind.
And Andy, that's a perfect transition to the ending here. Thank you all for showing up. It's really important for us to show, for those watching, you're not alone, right? These gentlemen showed up today to help hopefully bridge that gap, especially into tech, which can be overwhelming. I couldn't ask for a better group to join, and I hope to see you again. Maybe if this went well, I'd love to have you back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Well done.
Awesome.